How to make a beginner's crochet twist headband in single crochet. For this tutorial, you're going to need yarn, your crochet hook, a tapestry needle, and a measuring tape. Okay, to start with, you're going to need to chain to the appropriate size for the headband that you're making. Today, I'm making a child's size, and so I will need it to be 3.5 inches long for the chain. The sizes that you'll need are listed in the description for both the width and for the length. So I've actually made this a little longer than I need. I can frog. I'm going to do one more stitch. Alright, so the size that I need is 3.5 inches long for a child's size. You can use any size yarn you'd like, but if you're doing newborn or a baby size, I recommend that you use no larger than worsted. So you're going to single crochet as normal, so skip the first stitch into the second stitch and single crochet across the row. If you need tutorials on how to hold your yarn chain stitch or single crochet, you can find those. You can find those tutorials in my free school group, The Crochet Cottage. Chain and do the second row going into the first stitch and across. Chain, turn, and proceed as you did before, making sure that you have the same number of stitches in each row. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches, and so if I make sure that I have 6 stitches in every row, I should have a good rectangle that will work for this headband. I'm going to be crocheting to 20 inches for this headband, but you can use the measurements that you need to that are listed in the description below for the size that you are making. So I'm just going to finish my rectangle, and I will meet you back here once that's done. Is to see how many stitches it takes to make an inch. So it takes 2 rows for me to make an inch with this, and so far I've got 17 inches. So if I pin here, no, that's 17 inches. I have 3 inches to go. So once I have 6 rows, then I know I'm done after this pin. So that's just one quick tip to be able to help out. Okay, so now that I've done those extra 6 rows to give me 3 more inches, I'm just going to measure to make sure that I've got the full length that I need. And I need 20 inches, and that is, oh, yeah, that's good. So I've just got a teensy bit longer than 20 inches, so that's good. If I stretch it out, I can get further, but if I'm just letting it sit unstretched, it hits 20 inches. So now that I've finished this, I can choose what I'm going to do. I can take out the safety pin now that I know I've got the right length. Don't need that marking anymore for me. So now that I know how long, or now that I've got it the length I need, I can choose to either use a tapestry or darning needle. And this is my preferred way of finishing. Or I can use a crochet hook. If you're going to use a crochet hook for finishing, there's lots of layers you're going to be going through. So you may want to use one that's slightly smaller and make sure that it slides through all of these layers easily. And so I'm going to show you first the method for using the crochet hook. So we bring the 2 ends together, so it's folded in half. And now I'm going to slide that top one over. I want to make sure that my tail's sticking out as well. And I'm going to make this into like a double-decker sandwich. So it's sandwiched like that, and now I can take my hook and I can go in and I can start crocheting through all of these layers. So my first one, I'm just crocheting in the fold there, and then the second stitch I'm going to want to make sure to get through all of the layers. Oop, ended up with a loop, extra loop there. So I can go into the stitch. I want to make sure I get the other side. So I've got that first side, the second side, and I want to get the end of the other one and then through that last layer. And then I can yarn over and pull through all of those layers and through the loop. And we're going to do that again. So I'm going to go into this next stitch, into the next layer, the next one, and the next one. And then I'm going to yarn over and go through all those layers. And then I'm going to do that again, get that corner there. If you can get like a little bit further into the corner, it helps with just finishing it so it looks a lot more decent. Sometimes if you only catch like one loop, it can look a little funny in your seam. And then I pull through all those layers. Oh, got something I'm catching on inside there. So I'll pull through all those layers and through the loop. And then I can go through this fold and through the loop. And then I'll just finish that off. So that is how you can finish it with single crochet, or through crocheting through all those layers. Then you cut the yarn and you just pull it all the way out. And then that is finished other than weaving your ends in. Now you can also weave your ends in with your hook. It is easier with a needle if you have one, but a needle isn't necessary. If you don't have a needle, that's okay. You can use your crochet hook. And what you would do is you just find a stitch relatively close by and you just start to pull that through, and then you pull it through a few times just to make sure it's nice and secure. And then you'd also do that with this end. So if you're finishing with a needle, you don't need this loop. So I'm going to actually do a chain just to finish this off. And then I can cut this yarn and I can pull that right through. And I'm going to be using a needle on here to be able to finish now. So again, we're going to bring it together, fold it, and then bring it to the middle and make a sandwich, just like I demonstrated with the crocheted finish. So now I'm going to thread the needle. So you can make a little fold if you have a yarn that's really difficult to get into the eye of your needle. If you pull the yarn tight across the needle and pull the needle out, that can make it so that you have a better end to work with to be able to thread your needle. Okay, so now I have all my layers together and I can just sew through all those layers. All right. And just sew through all those layers. If you want to give it some really, if you want it to be really good and firm, you can go around like so. And you can see it's much, much easier to get the needle through all those layers than trying to fight with your crochet hook to get through those loops. And then I'm just going to go through one last time here. All right. And so now I can take this and I can finish it off. So I like to find loops that are close by, and I just go through the stitch. So I look to go through the middle of the stitch. I don't really want my needle showing on one side or the other. And so when I go through those stitches right in the middle, you don't really see the needle. And then I can pull this through. This is called weaving your ends in. And then you can go into, I kind of skip over that last loop I went in, and I go into all those stitches I just came through one more time, and this really helps it be good and secure. And don't pull it too tight so it doesn't end up warping your stitching. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other end. Yep, I need to fold it. This yarn is very fuzzy and comes apart easily, so I find that it needs a little bit of extra help to be able to go through the needle easily. All right, and then I'm going to go through this row here, weaving in that end. Don't pull too tight. And then I'm going to skip that loop and go back through all those loops right in the middle of the stitches. Don't pull too tight. And then I can snip off both of these ends. And then I can turn it right way out. And that is how you do a single crochet twist headband. I've got multiple sizes in the description that you can try. I've got adults right through newborn. Remember, if you're doing a newborn, you may want to use a lighter yarn like a worsted or a sport weight yarn. The bulky yarns just end up being really thick for their little heads. But this is a great little pattern. It whips up really quickly and is perfect for a beginner project. All you need to be able to do is crochet a rectangle and then sew it together at the end. So I love this project. If you would like to see more projects that are beginner friendly, you can check them out in my community, the Crochet Cottage on School.